Sex-linked traits are found on the X and Y chromosome. The chromosome theory states that chromosomes carry genes, which are units of heredity. Homologous chromosomes segregate during meiosis. This is during anaphase 1 and results in gametes that carry half the number of chromosomes as somatic cells, or they are haploid. Chromosomes assort independently during meiosis. This is during metaphase 1 and results in variation in the gametes. Thomas Hunt Morgan studied fruit flies, and he found a deeper understanding of heredity based on sex. He studied Drosophila melanogaster, or fruit flies, for several reasons. They have a rapid life cycle. They only live 10 to 15 days. They lay hundreds of eggs at one time. Crossing experiments can be repeated many times. The offspring mature quickly. Males and females are different. The females are much larger than the males to carry the hundreds of eggs. They are small. They have markedly contrasting traits, which means you can tell female from male, red eye from white eye, and they have only 8 chromosomes. Morgan found that females had 4 homologous pairs of chromosomes, 3 autosomal pairs, and 1 sex pair. Their sex pair was XX, which means also homologous. Males had only 3 homologous pairs. Their autosomes were the same, but their sex chromosomes, like humans, were not homologous because they had an X and a Y chromosome. Color In Drosophila is controlled by 2 alleles, capital R representing red, and recessive was white. These alleles are on the X chromosome, so we need to write it involving the X chromosome. So females have 2 X's, males have an X and a Y. We're going to do 2 crosses. Let's start with recessive male and homozygous dominant female. We see that we get 2 red-eyed females and 2 red-eyed males. Now we could say that all the offspring just have red eyes, but we need to include their sex because now it's in the Punnett square. And so we write our phenotypic ratios as 1 to 1, because remember, if it's 2 to 2, you put it into lowest terms, which means it is 1 to 1. Now we're going to take the offspring, so the heterozygous female, and cross it with the red-eyed male for our second cross. We see that in the offspring we get a homozygous female, heterozygous female, 1 red-eyed male, and 1 white-eyed male. So we get a difference in the ratios between the males and the female offspring this time. This is only found in X-linked recessive traits. So it's important to note that the only time there's a difference between numbers of males and females affected by a trait is if the mode of inheritance is X-linked recessive. Morgan concluded that genes controlling eye color must be on the X chromosome. The Y chromosome does not carry gene for eye color, and therefore males cannot be heterozygous for X-linked traits. Females, just in sheer terms of types of genotypes, they have 1 that will code for the recessive trait. They have to have both alleles coding for it, whereas males either do not have the trait or they do, 50% chance. Traits controlled by genes carried on the Y chromosome only affect males. Why is this? That's right, because only males have a Y chromosome in their genotype. Remember that autosomes are chromosomes numbers 1 through 22. The sex chromosomes are chromosome number 23. Sex-linked traits are controlled by genes on the sex chromosomes. Humans have 22 pairs of autosomes and 1 pair of sex chromosomes. Males are XY, females are XX. Sex-linked traits are almost always carried on the X chromosome, and that's because just in terms of size, it is much larger than the Y chromosome and carries more genes. The Y chromosome is for sex determination, which means if a person has a Y in their genotype, then they are genetically male. X-linked recessive traits occur more in males than females because males have only 1 X chromosome. Let's do this question. Cross a red-eyed female who's heterozygous with a white-eyed male. So we get one heterozygous red-eyed female, a recessive female, red-eyed male, and a white-eyed male. So this time the ratio is 1 to 1 to 1 to 1. Examples of sex linkage in humans include color blindness. This is where genes for the visual pigments responsible for perception of red and green are found on the X chromosome. Because males only have one X chromosome, they are more likely to inherit the trait. Females have to have both alleles to code for the trait. So can males be carriers for an X-linked trait? Remember that our definition of a carrier is that you don't have the trait yourself, but you can pass it on to your offspring. Males cannot be a carrier because if they have the recessive allele, they automatically have the recessive trait. Hemophilia is our second example of an X-linked recessive trait. It's where someone has trouble clotting their blood. Again, it's more often in boys than girls because they only have the one X chromosome. For more information on Punnett squares and sex-linked traits, take a look at this Amoeba's Sisters video. There's a couple other sex-related inherited traits. Sex-limited is only expressed in one sex. So example, milk production in cows is controlled by a gene that bulls carry. They do not make milk, so they do not express the gene. Therefore, only in females. Sex-limited, one sex. Sex-influenced is present in both sexes, but more common in one sex than the other. Our example is baldness. It's influenced by male hormones. Therefore, the gene is dominant in males and recessive in females, so more common in males.